Far too many school districts across America are letting politics get in the way of protecting school kids. A recent false active shooter alarm at Willard High School in Missouri should serve as a prime example of how too many schools are not ready if a gunman comes calling. The NRA, of course, can help. Its School Shield program can help any school district that takes the steps necessary in all facets of readiness. In Missouri, the alarm went off and students inside say it sparked mass chaos. Teachers didn't remain calm. They started frantically yelling at kids, locking doors with kids still in the hallways. You see, the alarm went off right before school started, which means not everyone was in class. The high school practiced active shooter drills during class sessions, but not during times when things would be more chaotic, like during lunchtime, arrival, and dismissal. You need to plan for those times too. It's being reported kids started running, teachers fell apart. The alarm was an accident, but maybe also a blessing. Over the loudspeaker came, "This is not a drill. Hard lockdown, not a drill." That's what the voice over the intercom bellowed. It exposed a weakness. The reality is far too many schools have the same weakness. That is just not acceptable. The weakness is these schools aren't ready. Please, call NRA School Shield. Let us help. This is about at least keeping kids safe. This is about the least political program the NRA offers because there is nothing political about saving lives. Lots of them. Joining me now is the owner of Strategic Weapons Academy of Texas and sergeant with the Ellis County Sheriff's Office, Tim Bulot. Tim, it is good to see you again.
Morning, Grant. Thanks for having us back on.
Absolutely, Tim. So you and I talk about school safety. You've been instrumental in getting some teachers training and getting them familiar with firearms here in Texas. We see this story out of Missouri. We could have predicted something like this would happen, but what's your response when you see chaos ensues?
Well, Grant, I don't know what security measures that this school has in place. You know, point that you already brought up is that there's an abundance of resources that are out there that are no-cost resources. The NRA Shield, as you mentioned, alert through law enforcement. You know, local law enforcement agencies today are actually reaching out to the schools to offer them this at no cost. But you know, there are times during the day when you're more vulnerable. And, you know, our shooting that we had down here in Ellis County, it happened at 7:50, you know, 5-6 minutes before the bell was to ring to get them to school. And during those times, whatever their security plan is needs to be at its highest level of alert. So luckily that this was just a false alarm and nobody was hurt, but hopefully it'll be a wake-up call for the school and a lot of other schools as well to look at this and use it as an example of how not to prepare and fix the problem.
You know, we always say prepare for the worst, right? When it comes to training these teachers, faculty, and even kids on how to respond, it's easy to have the alarm or drill go off when all the kids are in the classroom. It's not so easy. We've all seen the hallways of a high school in between classes and what a chaotic mess that can be. But those are the very times I think you've got to ultra train for, because those are going to be the most challenging times.
And Grant, bottom line is the responsibility falls on that school district. It's not on the kids, it's on them. You know, and we have a saying: in the face of danger, he who hesitates meditates in a horizontal position. And that's to that school district. Okay, the time has come and passed to get your security plan and get it in place and get it practiced. The kids aren't going to practice that on their own. They need to practice it under the guidance of the school. So it's on them.
How important is it that you get kids involved in practicing? Because I do hear times where, and I'm not against just the faculty alone practicing. Maybe it's after school and they run through some things. That's all well and good. But I think you've got to go through drills where the kids are also involved.
And it all comes into that programming for stress response, Grant. If you've never uploaded that stimulus, that reaction, when it happens, they're not going to have a clue what to do. And you know, we train them how to react in tornadoes in certain areas of the country. They train them how to react during earthquakes. You know, across the country, this is a problem that's not going to go away, even though we are making strides to reduce it. They have to be trained on what to do and how to react during a lockdown shooting situation like this.
You know, the challenge here, and I get it for school districts and even me as a parent, is what age do you start talking to your kid about this? And then comes into the question, okay, once you figure that out, now what age do you start training your kids in this? It's easy to do this for high school and in many respects junior high. These kids know what's going on across the world. But if you're a second grader in an elementary school, I'm not sure you can fathom the idea that someone's going to come into your school and start shooting you. How do you do that with the children in a way that's still effective, yet not just absolutely terrifying a small child?
Well, you know, Grant, here again, we're getting into an area where, you know, the extremes are so broad. I mean, I know how I would do it. I mean, my kids have been involved in shooting and tactics since they were old enough to be in it. They grew up around it, but that's me. You know, as a parent, my position is I would not allow my kids to attend a school that didn't have a proper plan in place. I mean, that's me as a parent, and that's why the parents need to be involved. And luckily here, my kids do go to a school where, you know, there's multiple measures, including teacher carry that is in place. We've had 0 incidents with it, and fortunately, I've been, you know, involved in some of the training of those teachers. So that gives me as a parent an extra layer of confidence. But then you have parents that think just the opposite of what I do and what you do, that, oh, well, they have more guns in the school, that's bad, and they're teaching their kids down that line. So it's, once again, we get the extremes from one to the other, and as a result, there's a stalemate on progress.
Yeah, you know, it's easy to say, though, that I'm not going to send my kid to a school that's not prepared. I'll tell you this story. Yesterday, Tim, you know, you live not far from us. It looked like rain around 3 o'clock. It was drizzling. I didn't know whether they were going to let out my kid's grade school out onto the playground or in school. Well, I got there about 5 minutes early. I figured we were going to do pickup in classrooms, as we normally do during the rain. Well, I waltzed right on into that school. The door was propped open by a teacher walking by or a parent walking by, let me in. I walked up to the classroom. I then realized they were letting out on the playground. There were no parents around. I'm looking around. There's no cameras in the hallways. I didn't see one security guard or anyone that was on the lookout for anything bad at all. That school was not secure. And so what am I going to do? Pull my kid out of the school that is his school and where we live and send him someplace else? Maybe. Or maybe I go to the school board and tell my story and get him to change. Either way, that takes time.
Well, it does, but there's going to have to be some kind of involvement, because if something happens and you did choose to not do anything, then how do you live with that, knowing the situation, especially, you know, someone like yourself, Grant, that you know, knows what to look for and what should be in place. But you know, bottom line is with this one in Kansas, at that hour of the morning, if a student were to sneak a firearm into the class, they're going to do it when they're arriving at the school. They're not going to leave during the day, go out and get it. Not to say that they can't, but that is the most vulnerable time, and that's when security measures should be up and running at their strongest and pushed out away from the school, starting at the arrival and departure points of these school buses, and where their kids come up all the way right to the front door and into their classroom. And we're seeing a result of lack of training and lack of preparedness. And you know, there's instances of false alarms like this where people have been killed just by the chaos alone, being trampled and being pushed and suffocated at airports and malls and things of that nature. So hopefully they'll get their act together, they'll wake up and put some kind of implementation on a security plan.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to take some action as well and get to work on trying to wake up the school district here. Now, this is the city of Dallas, so and Dallas it's a huge school district with tens of thousands of children. But they need a wake-up call, because I guarantee you, if my kid's school is not secure, most of the schools are not secure. And my guess is that's not just the city of Dallas, but so many cities across the country, which is why we do what we do, Tim, and why we get you on the program to try to wake people up on this. And it's going to take us as individuals to fight back and make sure our school boards are being held accountable. Buddy, as always, thank you for what you do. Keep your head low, and big thumbs up to all your guys down there.
Okay, Grant, thanks for having us on, and we'll talk to you soon. You stay safe as well.
All right, you got it.